Hey guys, it's Retro Rose here, and welcome back to Mushy Mondays, where we play a cute cozy game, and we're going to continue our life now and forever. So far, Tamarack has finally met her mom, and just kind of giving her a rundown of what's going on with my family in terms of like my dad, and our mom met our teacher, Miss Murray. So we're just going to pick up right where we left off. Now bashful, Tamarack hit her face with her hands. The sweater was finally released from her squeezing grip. While she wasn't looking, Mom gave you a sneaky wink. You told her enough about yesterday for her to figure it out. What about everyone else? The question was kind of forced. There was still an awkward feeling left behind after. Tamarack bringing up your dad that you never met. Even if people were going to figure out sooner or later that he wasn't anywhere, it couldn't have been done differently. But not everyone cared about that kind of stuff. Baxter took the initiative, properly introducing himself. My name is Baxter. I don't go to this school. I attend Dreadwit Academy. You do? That's quite impressive. Thank you. You were starting to think he couldn't feel uncomfortable even if he wanted to. He was cool. It was a cool cucumber so much he got stuck that way. Like if you made a weird face for too long. Except you were pretty sure adults were lying when they said that could happen. He got the conversation to change, so your mom was more at ease and gave a purposeful look at the only kid who hadn't spoken yet. And you are? Yeah, to Darren, of course. I'm Darren, that's my mom. Darren couldn't meet her eyes. Instead, he stared at his shoes, imply lifted an arm towards the door. Miss Murray was leaning against the wall there. Her arms were patiently folded. Mom shifted her gaze between the group of students and the teacher with a big smile. As a mom, she liked seeing other parents with their kids. It was fun for her, you guessed. It's nice to meet you too, Darren. His cheeks puffed out like a frog. It was so fast and unexpected, Mom laughed. She usually did nothing like laughing at other people's kids or other adults, not unless they were telling a joke. She laughed at everyone's jokes, even the ones that weren't funny. Your mom pressed her palm against her chest and breathed in through her nose to steady herself. You've barely been here for 2 days, and I already need almost a full hand to count all of the acquaintances you have. You work fast. She tilted a grin your way, raising one brow higher. Are you ready to go? Mom, me and Tamarack were wondering if she could come with us. Certainly. I'd be happy to bring her back. Mom stayed, but despite the agreement, she was unsure, not about you or Tamarack, but the three other kids who were left. That was when Miss Murray got off of her perch and came to stand by her son. I'm driving Darren, Autumn, and Baxter to my house. I'll call the boys' parents to let them know. It seems you've all arranged everything. You got your bags all ready too? We should really get going then. Have a good day, boys. With a parting smile and a gesture of her hand to follow, Mom turned and walked away. I'm out of here, dorks. This is funny. I'm finally free. You stuck your tongue out at the boys while her back was turned. Yeah, that's me. Autumn and Baxter said bye as the three of you were leaving and waved too. Darren only looked at the big group of girls. Bye, Autumn. Bye, Darren. Bye, Baxter. Bye, teacher. She shouted over her shoulder while sticking close to you and Mom. And after that yell, Tamarack whispered just to you. Sorry again. Oh, you don't have to feel bad. Mom held the door open for you and Tamarack to trot by. Then she followed you out. Your first day of school was over. You took the same exact path out as you had come in, just going the opposite way, down the stairs, through the checkered hall, and out the big double doors at front. But when you were outside, the way home changed. You had to go through almost an empty parking lot at the side of the school building. Mom had brought the car to come to get you. Wispy clouds hung over the group of three. Nobody else out. They'd already gone home and were probably teachers who were still in the classroom. I think I heard somebody walk. Tamarack ran freely across the tarmac. It was easy to figure out which car to go to when nobody else was parked anywhere close by. My mom does that too. You sprint to catch up with her and stay by her side. It didn't take long for Mom to rejoin you. She broke into a jog after both kids raced ahead of her. Once she unlocked it, Mom opened the backseat door. You were too little to sit in the front, according to her. That meant Tamarack would be too small too, and she was practically the same size as you. But you found out that Tamarack didn't want to sit there. She liked the middle. It was funny how round and weird it was. She also liked being able to see up front easily. Y'all, while you both buckled in, Mom got into the driver's seat. Tamarack told you about how she poked her Oma and Opa from the spot all the time. Even though neither of them were in the car, she was happy to choose the middle anyway. You like the window? Yeah, I like the window seat. After Mom double checked that everyone had their seatbelt on, she pulled out of the school lot. You jiggled in a firm cushion because of all the vibrations of the car. The seatbelt wasn't just as good for crashes, it also could stop you from slipping out of your seat on a bumpy road. It was quiet. Besides the humming sound that almost came from the way the car moved, the world looked different from the backseat of a car. A blur of golds, browns, reds flitted out the corners of your eyes. From what you could see ahead, there was an endless stream of blue coming at you, and then it all slowed down. You could see individual trees in each of their branches and leaves that hadn't fallen, and the sky seemed more solid. Your neighborhood was already in reach. It had been a whole journey in the morning, walking with Autumn and Tamarack. The trip only took a few minutes driving with Mom and Tamarack again. Mom parked at the end of the road, right in front of your house. There wasn't a garage to use, but it didn't really matter if you parked on the street. You couldn't block the path if it didn't go anywhere else. You and Tamarack got up and stood around together on the sidewalk. Thank you for driving, Rose's mom. You can come to my house now. A lot had happened since she talked about that in the classroom. Still, Tamarack hadn't forgotten the plan she made. A visit to the Benham household. Am I invited to? That's right, your mom hadn't been there when Tamarack had come up with what you do after school. It was funny seeing Mom ask permission to go over to somebody's place. She was the person who was supposed to decide if it was okay to do something or not. But your mom was nice. Yeah, thank you. I had been hoping to meet the rest of the neighbors, but I waited for Rose to be here before making the rounds. Lead the way, Tamarack. This is so how my mom would talk and handle situations with people. It's so cute. Tamarack wouldn't try to do that even if Mom didn't ask her to. Now the now leader spun around to change directions and marched down the sidewalk towards the big gray house next to yours. There was no way you get left behind. You stuck right by her while your mom went along after both of you. So she's right here. As Tamarack got closer, her pace got faster. The steady strut had turned into a speedy skip by the time she reached the porch. As she was eager to get home, or she wanted to make sure she arrived there first, Tamarack smacked the doorbell and held it all the way down with her whole hand. It wasn't the kind of doorbell you had to press over and over again to get it to work. As long as she pushed in, the deep chime rung through the walls. Ding dong, on and on. Tamarack squeezed the doorbell under her tiny hand. It wasn't going to stop. Your mom acted like the parent she was and spoke down to the other kids here in a reassuring voice. I think it's okay. You can let go. Mom understood appropriate behaviors in the grown-up world better than any elementary schooler could, and that wasn't it. But all the suggestions got was the small knowing of reassurance right back. No, it's okay. What if Omi is asleep? We'd be trapped outside forever. Tamarack was an adult, but it was her house and she knew the rules. And for all you knew, she could have gotten it to make up the rules herself. She was so amazing. Maybe, but while your mom softly tried to urge Tamarack to free the cushion button, the bell kept going and the door opened. What did they look like? Your nose realized it had happened before even your eyes could. It had gotten blasted with a perfumey smell so fast, like a human-sized spray of air freshener went off. Oh, she's so pretty! The person who answered the nonstop call of the bell was a lady with long, pale blonde hair going almost all the way down her back. She's so pretty. Her nose was tiny. It must have been how she lived with the smelliness. She was smiling gently. Just about every part of her looked flowy and delicate. Only one thing was different, her necklace. That was big gold and seemed like it'd be pretty heavy. Maybe she needed an anchor to stop her from blowing away in the wind. I'm here. Welcome back, young lady. My, and you brought guests. Hello. Tamarack finally slipped her hand off the button she needed to wave. Hi, Omi. Hello. Good to meet you. I'm Opal Smith. This is my daughter, Rose. The two of us recently moved in. We arrived only yesterday. Ah, her voice, which was another fragile thing about her, strained in a high pitched exclamation. I thought that was you. I heard you were coming, after all. That's why I swept up the porch and left the welcome mat. Aw. Oh, that was you. I appreciate the gesture. Yes, yes. It was my little way of greeting the newcomers to our quiet street. You had known that the mat was out of place in front of the worn house. Another mystery was solved. This time, the culprit was Tamarack's family member rather than Tamarack herself. I love the designs of the characters. It's so cute. Oh, I don't mind my hair. Miss Bayamon chatted on like leaving people unexpected stuff was nothing but normal. Dorothea? I think that's how you say her name. My name is Dorothea. Tamarack is my only granddaughter. Her father is my only son. And I have a husband, Ernest, of course. He's still alive, but I ought to introduce him to you myself. Lord knows he won't do it on his own. She pressed the top of her hand to her forehead, craning back, and dangles of her necklace clinking against each other. Miss Bam acted very tired, and it was probably was an act. You had to think so, since she sounded amused. It was like having a hard time. She was how she had a good time. Bye. If you see a scrunchy old man wandering about, that's him. Don't worry. He's not mean even if he looks it. Just remember that Mr. Baelmon is more afraid of you than you are of him. It's good to meet you both, Opal and Rose. The last part of our introduction wasn't for you and Mom. It was towards you. You call me Granny. Nice to meet you, Granny. Nice to meet you, Granny. She smiled at you, wide and welcoming. Meeting you meant getting a new grandchild. Hey, Omi. Tamarack cut into the conversation with a sharp grin and brows tight. She flapped one of her long sleeves to draw even more attention. Rose is my best friend. Oh! Oh! That announcement caught everyone by surprise, including you, the person it was about. Miss Bivon's eyes got bigger than you thought they could with how they looked normally. I didn't know that. When did you make a best friend? Yesterday. She was so chuckly, like her granny was silly for not being able to figure that out. Tamarack really thought you were her best friend. That's what you thought about her, too. You didn't even know what to do, though. You did notice that the way your mom was watching and matching happy expressions on Tamarack's and your faces. Miss Bam was enthused as her granddaughter and her best friend. Oh, yes, please come inside. I insist we need to get acquainted. No one had ever insisted you see their house before, unless what Tamarack said at school counted. You guess that's why Tamarack was that confident about saying you could come over and why she told you to do it instead of ask. Granny had the same attitude about people visiting. That would be lovely. Miss Van went deeper into her home, steps already echoing in the closed-off space. Tamarack bounded after her. Let's go, Rose. You and your mom followed behind Tamarack again, though this time it was her granny who got the lead of everyone. Mom shut the door after herself, and outside cold wasn't invited. Oh, this looks so nice. It didn't only smell like old people inside the house. The air was stiff like it had gotten old, too. A staircase went up a narrow hall with deeper inside and huge flower patterns that were plastered over the walls when you could see the walls anyway. The hall was crowded with shelves and tables. Those were cluttered with more things. It was sort of like walking through a museum with all fancy pieces to see, but also reminded you of a storage closet that was stuffed with things you had nowhere else to put. So maybe a closet in a museum? Though you didn't know any museum or closet that had colorful candles sitting in a worn silver dish, the way this house did. There were two kinds: bright see through hard candies in see through plastic wrappers, and pale taffies you couldn't see through that were twisted in a wax paper. Oh, I remember those candies. Mom passed by you, not even looking at the candy bowl. The side table it sat was much closer to your height than hers. It was right in front of your face. Would it be okay if I had some candy? What? Oh, your mom glanced behind her, finally taking note of the offering near the front door. That's up to Miss Bayamon. Oh, of course. Take whatever you like. Well, if you do, you can't eat it all today. Yes, yes, go on. Thank you. You took a hard candy. I take a hard candy. The wrapper was brittle and stiff. You knew that meant it was just as old as everything else there, but the little treat inside was probably still good. You tucked it in your pocket and caught up to the others before you lost sight of them. Tamarack's granny showed the way down the hall and through a big opening in the wall past that was the living room. Ooh, or not. The granny crossed the rug and also flowered and sat down on the smooth green chair. She didn't call it at. Bleh. This is the drawing room. I come here to sit on my throne and entertain our guests. You can take a seat, but do be careful. These are antiques. Tamarack just hovered around the table. Hearing adults talk was one thing, but sitting down and doing nothing while listening to it was asking for too much. He took a seat on the couch. It seemed like a good place to sit, and you were pretty sure it wasn't going to break under you, even if it was an antique. Mom settled into the couch cushion next to you and leaned against the armrest to even get cozier. No one had taken the warning about the antiques very seriously. Miss Bamlin didn't say anything over that, though she did go to say many other things. The two ladies talked to each other and their kids and grandkid. Tamarack's grandma was retired, you found out. Her husband was supposed to be too, she said with a strong opinion on the matter. Miss Bamlin explained to your mom how he was constantly taking on temporary consulting jobs, and if not that, then he would be taken out for dinner or lunch or something else so people could pick his brain for advice casually, even if he couldn't be an actual employee. Picking brains sounded like such a cool thing. Maybe it really wasn't. It was because of that you started paying attention to the word shared between grown-ups more closely. Miss Bama and your mom were really still talking. It's as if these people think half the town will fall apart without him. Oh, he was in construction work, remodeling, refurbishing, and repairs. Oh, wow. I see a very apt comparison then. They both laughed, though Mom's polite chuckle didn't compare to Granny's hearty cackle. Now, it's true that there's always something or another going wrong somewhere. Golden Grove isn't as young as it used to be, but there's only so much he can do when he's as aged as those delicate buildings themselves. The opening and slamming of the door followed her declaration. For a second, everyone stopped. Did Granny's description insult the house itself? No. You could hear him walking. Heavy steps came after the bang, and then a man you never seen passed by the opening in the hall. Opa. One hand gripping the armrest and the other swinging out toward your mom. Miss Bama lifted herself off the swirly pattern cushion. That's him right now. Granny abruptly called out as if she caught the sight of a rare animal in the wild and needed the rest of the team to get over there while they had the chance. What he looked like. Though that wasn't right, yelling would only scare the peaceful animal away. Instead, maybe she was trying to catch a shooting star before it disappeared for good. Oh, wow. Except the one didn't work either because Mrs. Bama was able to make the meteor still. Sorry, text message. So Bayamon stood suspended in space, silently staring through the wall hole into the drawing room. Tamarack's Opa was very gray. His full suit, his dull shoes, and his short hair. That was mysterious were his eyes. They might even be gray too, or maybe they were tricked by all the other grayness, and they were actually blue. Is he blinking? He is. He pushed his hat higher on his head with a large hand, slowly steady. Afternoon. Hearing his voice cement an expression that had started to build in you. It was a low, grumbling noise. The tone sounded the way his scratchy beard and bushy eyebrows must have felt. So, like a husky kind of voice. The sturdier older man, colorless and rough, was basically a stone statue that had come to life somehow and was absolute total opposite of Miss Bama. Hi, Opa. This is Rose and their mom. They're the people in the other house. Ah, the neighbors. Mr. Bama mumbled briefly in response, and his eyes shifted away from the seating gear. He wasn't talking about the news, but you got the expression he was thinking about it. Good day. He turned his body to the new direction of his gaze. Fine, go hide in your cave. We'll be here if you decide to join us after all. Mrs. Bearbaum showed her surrender and creaking lower herself into the chair again. Dinner will be ready in a couple of hours. You least can't miss that. Mr. Bama made his escape without looking back. He probably couldn't miss that if he tried. Where were we? I remember. Tamarack's grandpa had only said a few real words and couldn't count on them on one hand. Her granny had to have said 100,000 times more than that and still had more to go. But your mom was talking too, and you could tell she wasn't ready to be done. She had her listening face on and not her how soon can I get up to stop it expression. This is so funny because that's how my mama be looking. Oh, that's so funny. You sniffed around and wondered where the perfume smell came from. It was nice. Suddenly, for the first time in ages, Mom looked at you instead of one of the three Bayamans, and she hadn't forgotten you were there too. Oh, Rose, are you fine staying longer? There's a couple things I'd like to discuss with Ms. Bayman while I can. As a little of an impact as you had on the adults, Tamarack still did enough to distract them all. Since her grandpa left, she'd been staring at the window and doing that thing where she bumped her bag around. She used her hips instead of her butt this time. With the way Granny daintily placed her hand on her lap, she really did look like a queen on her throne. You had to wonder, was she a kind queen or an evil queen? Why don't we let the two young friends play in the backyard while us old folks stay here and talk? You wouldn't go far, would you, Tamarack and Rose? And we come get you when it's time to leave. Would that be acceptable, Opal? It was weird to have somebody call Mom by her name, even if it was her name. She was Mom. That would be great. Excellent suggestion. Tamarack's bag stopped jiggling. That was the only reason you heard her intent whisper. Come on, Rose. Neither of you had officially been given permission to leave before she zoomed out of the room and around the corner in the same direction Opa had vanished to. All right, so I'm actually going to go ahead and cut it here, guys. Thank you for joining me on another Mushy Monday. So we're going to bring more content, and we're going to check out Tamarack's backyard. We've got to see more characters. We got to see Omi and Opa, sorry. And I really like the design of these characters. It's just so warm and inviting, and it feels like it's giving so much life. It's more so what I'm trying to say. It just feels warm. I don't know how else to explain it, but I really like it. So I'll catch you guys next Monday. Bye. Well, I know this is going to be closer to Tuesday, but I'll catch you next Monday. Bye.